Welcome to Discovering the Law. My name is Lucy Rivera and I am the host tonight. Tonight we have a very special guest. We have Attorney Bill Kennedy. Attorney Bill Kennedy is a partner at Nutter. Attorney Bill Kennedy, welcome to Discovering the Law.
Well, thank you, Lucy, for having me as a guest on today's program. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the Boston Cable Network. I'm a resident of the Lowell Mills section of the city, and we're a viewer of the network, and we appreciate the role that it has. It's an important role to inform the citizens of the neighborhood. So I'm so pleased to be here to have this conversation with you. Thank you very much.
We are honored that you're here to share with us your experience. Attorney Kennedy, we met when I was your student, and you were one of my favorite professors. Why don't you share with us about your practice?
Sure. Thank you. Before I answer that, I want to recognize the studio here is the Charles Rasmussen Studio. When I was the Chief Legal Counsel and Chief of Staff to the Speaker of the House, Charlie Rasmussen, who died last year, was the Communications Director, and also I think did some work for the Cable News Network. Was a fine gentleman. So to be here in this studio, named in his honor, is a special time. So thank you for that. Well, you're an example of why people, teach and why people engage with students. I had you, as you said, at Suffolk Law School. And one thing I've enjoyed because of that is seeing my former students, seeing them in the law, seeing them succeed. You're today in your practice. But it's just having done that at Suffolk for over 20 years, brought great satisfaction. And now to see students, I have some students now who are judges, and to see that brings great satisfaction. But I'll bump into former students no matter where I go, and they always comment. They might complain about a grade, but it brings great satisfaction. I grew up in Dorchester, part of the city, where I still live, and a large family at the time, and always liked school and liked to read and think and write. And I was influenced by where I grew up, by my family, of course, by my parish, by the priest I had in high school, and at Holy Cross, where I went to college. And then I went to Suffolk Law School. And during my time at Suffolk, I had an opportunity to work at the South Boston District Court. It was my first really exposure. I had some law, I had con law in college and so forth, but my exposure to the court system, fortunately, and my mother and father would agree, I never got in trouble, so I never had any exposure. But to be in there, I worked as my first summer a court officer, and then I was a probation officer, and then I was an assistant clerk of court, all when I was going to law school, and heavily influenced there by the court personnel. Particularly the presiding justice was a gentleman who was my mentor, Honorable Lawrence Cameron, who died 3 years ago at 103 and was a great man. And really instilled in me that this could be something that I could do and that I could practice. I then, after I graduated, I became a law clerk in the Superior Court, and then I began private practice. And then in the 90s, I became the Chief Legal Counsel in the House Ways and Means Committee, and then the Speaker's Office. And then 25 years ago, I became a partner at McClennen & Fish, a law firm in Boston. And for 20 years, I taught at Suffolk. I created a legal clinic, and then I taught about, I think, 8 or 9 different courses in my time there. My practice now, because I had experience for 15 years or so in the state legislature, I created a sort of public policy, government affairs practice along with a law practice. My clients would be hospitals, would be regulated industries, that had matters in courts, had matters before state agencies, regulatory agencies. I've done a lot of higher ed, a lot of healthcare, and I've done some different things along the way.
In your very, very rich career, you've seen so many things. What are some of the most remarkable changes in the law that you can share with us?
Well, I think, I've seen changes. I think the way law is practiced, I think. Some people talk about the lack of civility. I'm not sure about that. But I've seen it, in my view now, I just see it more welcoming. I see more women in my 46 years as a lawyer. There's more women in law school. There's more women, when I admitted to the bar every year. I see more diversity. I think see more men and women of color going to law school, being admitted to the bar, and finding various opportunities. I see the practice becoming more understanding about the balance that we need in life, more welcoming of women and men spending time with their families, having families. We have family leave now. We didn't have that when I started out. We had, I worked on that legislation. I represented the Chamber of Commerce for paid family leave, very important. As you recall, same-sex marriage was the result of a court case. I was working on the legislation at the time in the legislature. However, there was a court case in the SJC, and the court recognized same-sex marriage. You look at a lot of different rights that we have that we didn't have when I started, that we have today, whether through the legislative process or through the judicial process. But our healthcare, the healthcare law we have today, 2006, has made healthcare in Massachusetts more accessible. Everybody has insurance if they want it. So you see, the law has been impactful. Technology, technology and how we practice and so forth. Also, the biomed science, very pervasive now in the law, new law as a result of it. So constantly changing on the subject matter and how it impacts our lives.
Indeed, Attorney Kennedy, I actually had opportunity to see your profile, and I see that you have been awarded a Business Community Award. You're a very modest person, but please talk to us about this recognition.
Well, I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate and able to be engaged as part of my practice in various business, civic, philanthropic, and charitable activities. I represent a number of nonprofits. So I'm on the Chamber, I'm on Mass Taxpayers. And one group is the Boston Municipal Research Bureau, which has been around for 100 years. And a man named Henry Shattuck, who was an old Bostonian, created it. And what it does, it looks at the Boston finances for the city of Boston. It looks at contracts, it looks at taxes, it looks at funding for education. It's a bit of a watchdog of sorts, but it works in conjunction with the city agencies, with the mayor, with the city council, and with the various agencies. And each year we have a dinner, it's coming up on November 20th, where we recognize about 10 City of Boston employees from all different agencies throughout the city: police, fire, education, libraries, healthcare, people who are nominated by their fellow workers or by their bosses for doing a job above and beyond what they normally would do. And each of these employees has a wonderful story to tell about their work for the city. The Bureau at that dinner will also recognize two people. One is someone who works in the nonprofit industry. We have a lot of great nonprofit organizations in the city. And this year we're honoring a woman who I don't know. Her name is Elizabeth Jackson. But the nomination of her was, she's outstanding, leading the Bridge Over Troubled Waters. The Bridge Over Troubled Waters used to be located in a van or a trailer right on the Common near Park Street, giving services and counseling and health care to people in need and crisis. And also they recognized at the dinner a business community person for their work in the business community and beyond. And I'm fortunate and humbled that this year I will be the recipient of that. I've been involved with the organization about 20 plus years. I chaired this dinner for 10 years. So I know that my colleagues on the board are tough. They have high standards. So to be awarded the City Champion Award is very important and meaningful to me.
And Attorney Kennedy, congratulations on this recognition.
Thanks.
How do you get inspiration in your career? How to motivate you? What can you tell us for all the students coming up?
Well, inspiration, I'm somewhat fortunate in that I've had people in my life really who have not only inspired me, but who have influenced me, who have been generous, kind, have given me the benefit of the doubt, have encouraged me, who've pushed me along, who let me see that, I could be successful, I could do something, I could pursue a career as a lawyer. And I've had people who have mentored me and who've advised me. And that's been inspirational, it's been motivational. But I don't mean to go off on this a little bit, but I lost a friend this year, and a gentleman, and his name was Flash Wiley. And at his celebration of life, his son, whose mentor I've been, got up and talked about his father. And he made a comment, he said, my father often thought that life is a team sport. We can't do it alone. We need each other. And I've been the benefit of that team sport. And I think I can't point, it was in a book, as a boy I read A Killing Mockingbird. I'm not saying that motivated me. I watched Perry Mason, but I don't think I'm going to say that. But just to put my head down and say, is there something that I can do and I can do that I can do well? But we all find inspiration, different places. It could be some people who I got a call Saturday from a fellow. He calls me and he says, Mr. Bill Kennedy? I said, yes. He says, my name, he said his name. And he says, you sent me a note in April. And I put it in a book, and I meant to write you back, but it fell out of the book today. And the story is, this gentleman was on television during the marathon. He had cancer. He was fighting cancer. And he dedicated himself to raising money now solely for cancer research. And they gave him a lot of coverage during the marathon. That was inspiring. And that caused me to write him a note. And on Saturday at 2 o'clock, he calls me up and says, that note was an inspiration to me. So we find inspiration everywhere. And we should be, when we see it, we should recognize it.
And Attorney Kennedy, in addition to inspiration, you mentioned some of your role models and influences. Who are some of the influences that crafted your path in the law?
Well, I'll talk about a book for a second. You remember Senator Bill Bradley, who ran for president? And he was a great basketball player for the New York Knicks. When I was a boy, I was 14. I went to my school book fair in Dorchester, where I went to junior high school. There was a book on the counter on the table called A Sense of Where You Are. And Bill Bradley, who was a senior at Princeton, had this book written about him. And a sense of where you are means a sense of where you are on the court, but a sense of where you are in life. And that saying and that book always stayed with me. I was, my family, of course, my wife and daughter influenced me. Of course, I grew up in a strong Catholic background, back when the parishes were strong. The Franciscan priest at my high school, Christopher Columbus, were of influence. The Jesuits to this day. But again, it's people. I've always tried to do this, and I still do it to this day. I try to learn something from everybody that I meet, everybody that I come in contact with. How do they do that? How do they dress? How do they look? How do they treat people? How do they welcome people? And so, to me, for me, it's a constant journey to, can I better myself? Can I improve myself? Because we all come from modest backgrounds. How do you know how to do something unless you see someone else do it or you're exposed to it? And that's a constant process. I hope that I continue to be open. We can always improve, of course, but just to be open to keep my mind active, my life active. And I'm fortunate in that regard. But you find things, you learn things from different people, and not always a judge, not always a partner in a law firm or a CEO. I've gotten advice from a lot of different people, and who've experienced things, and I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate for that, and I try to work that into my life.
Attorney Kennedy, you've seen so much and you have so varied experience. There is now technology, as you mentioned, artificial intelligence coming up. I wish I knew more about AI, but what's your insight about this the technology in the law?
Yeah. Well, AI, and I have limited knowledge of it too, but I do know this. I mean, it is here, and it is here to stay, and it is impactful. It is pervasive. I read a lot about it. I've met some people in it. It is in all aspects of our lives. It is going to continue to be in all aspects of our lives, whether it's healthcare, telemedicine now, not a doctor, not a nurse, but AI. In my law firm, in all law firms, it's how is AI impacting the practice? Is it going to take the place of associates? Is it going to reduce associate hours? And that's revenue, of course. There's been cases, one case out in Norfolk Superior where a lawyer had filed a brief, and the judge found that all his citations were wrong. And as a result, the judge fined him. And the Supreme Court has formed a study commission. The BBO, there was an article in the Lawyers Weekly, I think, last week about AI. At our law school, Suffolk Law School, the dean there has been very aggressive on bringing AI into the curriculum and into how students are trained. He believes that if you're not digitally equipped on AI, you're going to be behind. The question for me is, how do you regulate it and how do you control it? If not, I've read articles and people are concerned about, and there's a lot of cases already. The New York Times sued some of the AI companies for stealing their information, stealing their articles. Well, I shouldn't use the word stealing, but using without permission. So it's going to be in our lives. You think back, to the personal computer. you know, I happen to remember when it came out, and some people adapted to it, some people were slow to adapt to it. But I think if you don't adapt to AI, you're going to be behind. The question will be who, whether it's court cases or whether it's the legislature. We have an AI commission here in Massachusetts that is looking at how to regulate it. But when you see Apple and you see IBM and these companies investing, you've probably seen the ads on TV, billions of dollars. They're not doing that if there's not going to be a return and if there's not some value to it. And so it's here to stay, but what impact it will have will still have to be seen.
It's very interesting. Attorney Kennedy, we have 5 minutes, and there are so many things I would like to cover. But why don't I focus on your role and what you've seen in the legal profession as part of the Board of Bar Overseers member.
Well, I'll speed up. The Board of Bar Overseers is the sort of the regulatory body for the legal profession. Members are appointed by the court. We have lawyers and we have public members. So if someone brings a complaint against an attorney, that comes before the board. So many of our complaints are resolved. We have a whole office of lawyers. And some come before the board that I'm on. We have hearings, we suspend people, we give public reprimands, we give private reprimands. Of course, the disbarment goes to the Supreme Court. And it really has been an eye-opener for me to see a view of the profession, and so the one issue I would like to talk about the profession that we see is, there are issues. We have a well-being committee that the SJC appoints, and we have a group called Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers that helps lawyers who have addiction in recovery. The legal profession, like any other profession, is human. We're all human. And as a result, people do bring issues to the table, and it has impacted their practice of law and how they serve their clients. They don't appear in court. They miss deadlines. They might take funds from our clients. They might be in financial difficulty, paying their mortgage, paying tuition. So what do? Client funds, client trust funds, and we regulate that. But all professions have issues, whether doctors, engineers, teachers, and we're no different. But we try to what's in the best interest of the profession, of the public.
Attorney Kennedy, it's been really a pleasure to have you. We have 1 minute left. I think you'll need to come back so we can cover some more of the topics we had prepared. But what are some of the takeaways that you would like to leave our audience and our public with? I know there is so much about what you've seen with the issues regarding the legal profession.
Well, the legal profession for me and in others has given me an opportunity to do things that or be at tables or be involved in projects or be involved in causes that I never thought I would be involved in. And I've had a seat in the classroom, in the courtroom. One time I tried cases in the halls of the State House. A lot of charities that I've been involved with, civic organizations, through the practice of law. And that's been a great, as I think I'm somewhat looking in the rearview mirror a little bit, and I see that I've had a varied and successful career, and I welcome people who want to enter the profession to consider being a lawyer today and try to have a good life. And it's been good for me and my family, and I think also for others.
Attorney Kennedy, I wanted to ask you about the Karen Read and so many other things, but we've run out of time. I just wanted to thank you so much for joining us. we'll have to come back and talk about these issues we haven't been able to talk about. For our viewers, this segment was prepared for attorney William Kennedy, who is a partner at Nutter, McClennen & Fish, also known as Nutter. And my name is Lucy Rivera. I'm your host tonight, and I am honored that you're watching us. This episode can be viewed at www.discoveringthelaw.com. Thank you for watching.